Hola y un abrazo fuerte. Today, we're going to do something completely different here at Destination Retirement. I am overjoyed to introduce you to today's guest and my new friend, Amanda, with Entrepeneur Expat. Say hi, Amanda.
Hi, good. Happy to be here.
Excellent. Just to get the ball rolling, give me maybe the elevator pitch of what is Entrepreneur Expat.
So, Entrepreneur Expat is a channel that my fiance Justin and I started after about a year of, well, me living in Mexico about a year. He's been traveling all over the world for about a decade. And I was getting a lot of questions from colleagues and friends and things like that, like, hey, how does residency work? Or, hey, I'm thinking about leaving the United States. So it basically just started as us answering questions for people that we were getting in the DMs because, we were running other businesses. So we were like, I don't have time to be in the DMs or WhatsApp all day long answering all these questions. Let's just put it on YouTube. And then when they ask us, okay, well, here's the video. Then what ended up happening is that the YouTube channel started growing very quickly. We are digital marketers by trade, so we know what we're doing to make that happen. It wasn't an accident. And we started to realize, oh my gosh, there's a whole sector of the marketplace that still doesn't understand this whole online business world, right? Like they want to travel full time. They want to, we're in Mexico right now, like you are. They want to go to other countries. They want to travel. They want to go to Thailand. They want to have this expat life for lots of reasons. We're hearing all kinds of reasons why people want to leave the United States and Canada and why they want to do that. But they haven't figured out how they're going to make money. And that's like thing number one that you need to figure out. So over time, we've just been covering different different subjects that would matter to expats. So for example, how to get a bank account in Mexico, and also, hey, this just happened in the United States, just like keep an eye on it for those of you who want to leave the country. Or, hey, they just changed this residency process. And also, oh, by the way, how do you make money when you're living among different countries? How does that work for taxes? But mostly, the main thing that we're helping people with now is how they can create location independent businesses so they can go anywhere in the world.
Yeah. So I'm actually hearing kind of a two-prong, and I know there's a third. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
I'm hearing kind of a two-prong thing. A lot of it is questions just about Mexico because you guys now reside in Guadalajara and, how to do this, how to get that. But the other, the location independent and being able to make money no matter where you're at in the world, that's for anybody living anywhere, really.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Learning about, yeah.
Yeah.
So I am not the best candidate for digital marketing, even though I am delving it more and more into YouTube because mine is very bricks and mortar because I work with real estate. However, not everyone can do or even wants to do what I do and manage properties and rentals. So sometimes people come to my channel, Destination Retirement, and they say, hey, can you show me how to do what you do? Or how can I make money in Mexico in specific? So touch a little bit on making money as a digital nomad, wherever you want to go with that.
Yeah, so one of the things that is unique about us is that before Justin and I even met, we'd each had about 15 years of experience in online business, just in different areas. So for me, it was more on the marketing and sales side of things and helping people put offers together, teaching them how to do stuff like YouTube and sales conversations, because all those things are necessities to making money online. And then on Justin's side, it was more the technology, the software, the analytics. So it's kind of like a good combination there that's pretty rare to find in one place. And what we realized was that we would travel, for example, like we just booked our honeymoon cruise and we were thinking about this and we're like, yeah, this is just like normal for us to be able to travel and disconnect a little bit from the business because so much of it is online and automated. And for most people on this cruise ship, it's like their 1-2 week vacation a year.
Oh, that's so sad.
I know. So that's number one. Or number two, we had colleagues and friends and things who were already making good money, 6 figures, sometimes 7 figures, but they wanted to go to the other countries, but their systems and their infrastructure were such a mess, right, that they couldn't do that very easily. So we thought that honestly, that's what Entrepeneur Expat was going to attract the most. But then what ended up happening was we started to realize, oh my gosh, there's a whole sector of the marketplace that hasn't really talked to anybody about online business. And then when they are finding stuff about making money online, they're hearing bullshit like, oh yeah, go to the Philippines and sign up for this thing and make $10 an hour, and that's really good money for the Philippines. And we're very much about expanding and not having to reduce your quality of life, because why would you do that? And we live in the age of the internet where that's easier to do than ever before. So a lot of what we do is help people get started in their own expert and knowledge businesses, because that allows them the financial freedom, because it's inherently expensive in order to sell that, because it's your expertise, your knowledge, and your brain. AI is not going to take over that anytime soon. In addition to that, it's very low cost to get started, very low cost to run very efficiently, and 80% of it can run on autopilot while you are going to other countries or doing whatever the hell that it is that you want. So we started to notice like, oh, hey, we're teaching a pretty unique model, because most people teach the freelancing thing, which we both did on our own. And the problem with that is you're dealing with clients all the time who become like your bosses. And then you're not really enjoying your time in Mexico, or they're in businesses that cannot scale, meaning they're too busy trading time for money. And then you're still not enjoying where you're going, because now you're working 80 hours a week. Because we haven't built systems or a way to scale, or a way to make this more automated so we can get your time back. Or the stuff that they're being taught, they just don't make enough money. Like, for example, they'll come to us and they're like, what about affiliate marketing? And I'm like, well, didn't the Mexican consulate just tell you that you need $10,000 to qualify for a residency? You're not going to get there very quickly by affiliate marketing. There's a much faster way of doing this. So we realized in Entrepeneur Expat that there was this entire untapped market that didn't really know about business, right? And then what they were being told about making money online was trash, and wasn't actually going to help them build the life that they wanted to build.
Yeah, exactly. You said a couple things that I want to touch on here. You talked about working with people in their own area of expertise and knowledge. So it's not that you're just helping people get set up to do this digital online thing. It's more mining, talking with them, getting to know what their passion is, what their knowledge and expertise is, because as we chatted earlier, the sales and marketing, that's just a tool. That's just part of the
That's
gas.
just part of the
that drives
game.
the engine, right? So talk a little bit about helping people drill down maybe and find what it is that truly is going to stick with them. Because if you don't love it at the end of the day, you're not going to follow up with those.
And that's
emails
a part of it, right? You have to really love it. Otherwise, what's the point? So I'll give you a few examples from people we've been working with recently. So we have one example. They're interested in moving to Mexico, and they have a lot of management experience. So we were talking to them and we're like, wait a minute, so you mean to tell us that you know how to get employees to do what they're supposed to do? And they're like, yeah, spent 20 years doing that. I'm like, do you know how much money you could make training companies on how to do this? And they just don't know, because they've had jobs. They haven't been in the business arena and understand how that works. So that would be an example. They're like, yeah, I love training and developing people and all that stuff. We're like, great. So let's take your work experience and your love of these things, create a $25,000 package that then you can get hired as a consultant, and you don't even have to show up in person. Because that's the other thing people don't realize. They'll be like, oh, no one listens to me at my job. Yeah, because they're not going to listen to the employees, but they'll spend 50 grand on a consultant. So how about you quit and then become the consultant and get the 50 grand?
Exactly.
That's how it works. So that would be an example. Or another example is we have a client now. He's already in Mexico, and he's on his second act, as I call it. He's later on in life, and he's like one of the original gay activists of the United States, right? He's like one of the OGs. Like, he started in the 70s. So I was listening to his story, and he's got a lot of insight to share in terms of LGBTQ relationships, right? So we're like, okay, well, what are the lessons here, and what can we teach LGBTQ couples before they get married so they don't go through what you went through? And then we'll create the marketing. And he'd already was working on a book about it. So I was like, okay, great. Now we're just going to turn that book into like a training program. And then we make a YouTube channel or a podcast about it, and there you go. There's your money while you're living in Mexico.
Yeah, perfect. I think a lot of people's initial perception of digital marketing is a product or, AI books or something like that. And
Or affiliate marketing or
right.
Google AdSense. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
none of those things make enough money to sustain you.
No, but what I really like about what I hear you saying is you listen to these people's stories and you help them mine. I've done the same thing with other people. You just start talking, listening, asking the questions, and you can mine from their own information. It's like they live with themselves all the time. They might not even realize what it is, and you start drilling down. You can help find that. One of the other important things is not trading time for money because we've only got so much time. And while most of us society is used to doing that, one of my concerns has always been with the digital marketing thing that's kind of on autopilot. How do you take that and combine it with authenticity and sincerity and having people feel like they actually connect with you? Because I know you do, but that's kept me a little bit from it. So
I mean, we picked up the phone and called you. So yes, we do.
Yeah,
We combine
I know,
it.
thank you.
Okay, so here's the goal that we have with ourselves and also every single one of our clients. And that goal is, and you know this from having been in business a long time, we know that marketing and sales are the most important part of a business. Without that, you don't have a business. So we have to structure a business in a way where 80% of your time is being spent on marketing and sales. Period. End of story. Right? And what happens to most people is they end up doing literally everything else except marketing and sales because the business is not set up in the way it should be and so on and so forth. So what we end up doing, so from there, right, what ends up happening is we have to get them to the 80% first, right? And then when you have that 80%, that's the whole back end of the business is basically automated, and a lot of the front end too, because you know this from running a YouTube channel. You do a YouTube channel, the search engine optimization does its thing, people find you, and then they're buying your stuff 24 hours later, or they're booking a call with you. So with us, a lot of the nurturing of people is automatic, right? It's do a YouTube video, make sure it's search engine optimized. Then they might sign up for a free guide, the Living in Mexico guide, the Make Money from Anywhere guide, so on and so forth. And a lot of the stuff after that is automated, basically to save us time. So we're talking emails, text messages, voicemail drops. And that came to be because I've been in sales for 15 years. And I was like, well, what would a salesperson worth their salt do? And how can I automate as much of it as possible? Now, the reason why we can do those automations and it sounds like a real person, and we've actually had clients respond to our emails testing it to see whether or not it was AI, is because we each have 15 years of experience and data to work with. So we already know what this customer journey looks like. We already know what questions they're asking. We already know what each step of the process is. We already know what the text messages should say to get X result. And that's part of what we help our clients figure out for themselves. Because in order for the automations to sound human, you need to have enough data up front to be able to replicate a human. That being said, when we have extra time, you know, we'll do things like pick up the phone, which is how this happened.
I'm glad you picked up the phone.
Yeah. Or in our programs themselves, you know, like we'll have programs that are completely on demand, autopilot. Then we'll also do workshops, like we're doing a YouTube mastery workshop because so many people have asked us about YouTube. Or we'll be doing a workshop on how to get your first virtual client in 30 days, you know, and that's live. We get with them, you know, there's video components to it, but that's also live. So essentially, and then we have our mastermind, which our mastermind is every single business training we've ever done in the last 15 years. There's a specific process people have to move throughout a year-long process. That's all on video. And then we get together a few times a week as a group to just hold people accountable, work out any kinks, things like that. So we've figured out a pretty good blend where like 80% is automated. What is automated sounds human. And then it's not meant to remove the human element from a business. It's just meant to enhance it.
And that's what you can teach other people to do in their area of expertise.
100%. Yep.
Oh, brilliant.
I know.
That is fantastic.
Right. And what took us 30 years collectively to figure it out, we can help people do it in a year.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And live from anywhere.
And live from anywhere and go anywhere.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
I'm ready to trade in my sweater for full time in Mexico. Obviously, I'm not in Mexico right now. uh, Now I want to jump to a different side of the business. Clearly, you and Justin have brilliant business minds, and I do recommend everybody check out the channel Entrepeneur Expat. I will put a link below in the comments. But now I want to switch gears to a little bit of what we affectionately call the woo-woo side of one, uprooting your life, moving to another country, and completely redesigning it to where you can live a digital nomad style life.
Yeah, it's funny because Justin's working on the Entrepeneur Expat book. He wrote the first chapter yesterday, and I was reading it, and I was like, oh my gosh, he nailed it. So basically, what happened was before we had met, we had each been in business 10, 15 years, like I said, doing our own things. And we had both kind of come to the same conclusion. We had both been through extreme cycles of burnout, respectively, in our own businesses. When we met, I was coming out of a cycle of burnout because I was quickly on my way to having a 7-figure business as a sales trainer. I was starting to close $100,000 in sales a month. But the problem was I didn't understand sustainability. So that was number one: systems, processes, team, all that kind of stuff. So that all kind of blew up in my face because I was just like work. And eventually your nervous system collapses when you're doing that. Or your body collapses. For me, it was my nervous system that ended up going kaput. The other thing that was going on at the same time was that we were having a lot of family health emergencies at the exact same time. So I basically collapsed and I said all of this, right? And I realized, oh my gosh, I'm a 34-year-old woman, right? And I've made a ton of money, but I have like really nothing else to show for my life, you know?
Yeah.
This was also during like the pandemic and all that stuff. So like there was literally nothing else to do but work. And I think it got a little unhealthy, for lack of a better term. So I kind of started looking at my life, and I started working with an expert in neuroscience at the time, actually, because what happened was after I had my first 6-figure month, my dad was in and out of the hospital. And then I kept having this really strange thing that happened where it's like it felt like my brain stopped functioning. Like, I'm a very woo-woo spiritual person. I've been meditating for 10 years. I couldn't even sit down to meditate. And I didn't know it at the time, but I was having a trauma response, and I was in hypervigilance from number one, chronic stress, and then number two, I would later come to learn, working with the expert in neuroscience, I had triggered an ancestral trauma from my family. And my family's Cuban, and they fled the Cuban Revolution, and they had to give up everything. So I was going through these very extreme cycles of survivor's guilt, where every time I would start succeeding and making a lot of money, I would feel very guilty and also unsafe. And I would find ways to get rid of money.
Wow.
So I burned everything. So it took I'd lost all the money already by the time I found this expert in neuroscience. And then I was going to interview her for my podcast for my original business. And she said what she did. And I was like, I think I need to hire you. Right? So I cashed out the retirement account basically to hire her. And then we would work together for 6 months. And then we would completely start to rewire my brain. When I'm done working with her, right, I start to realize, oh my gosh, and this is very common, right? I have built a life based on fear-based programming completely. And I was just completely unaware of it.
Yeah.
That's what a midlife crisis is, by the way. When you have that realization.
I guess that would be like the Webster's dictionary version, definition of a midlife crisis.
That's what's going on, is people have been living based on programs their entire life that are unconscious, and then something happens and bam, and you have to face it. So for some people, it's divorce. I was catching up with a colleague of mine earlier today. For her, it was a divorce, a business divorce from a business partner and her husband. For other people, it's illness, it's death, it's the loss of a career. Like something triggers it. For me, it was loss of a career. So I would end up becoming aware of all these things I was not aware of, and I realized, oh my God, I need to completely rebuild my life, but from a different value system, one that's more in alignment with who I am. And I put business aside for a while because I was just so burned out. between the family health crisis and all that stuff. And I just wanted to be there for my family and also take care of myself and like rehabilitate. Because when I say my nervous system shut down, it shut down.
Wow.
Like I could not function.
It's scary to set
it's
business
really scary.
aside because that's your income.
Terrifying, right?
The
But
insurance bill,
But
right?
what happens when you have, I'm going to call it a spiritual awakening. What happens when you have a spiritual awakening like that and you become aware of how you were running your life previous to that, you can't go back.
Yeah.
Your eyes are open. There's no going back. Because you know that's not the answer anymore.
Right.
So you have to be in this weird abyss for a while.
In a
Which
little
people
bit
call
of-
the dark night of the soul.
Yeah, the dark night of the soul. And, and in a little bit of a place of trust.
And in a place of trust and surrender, which were
Agreed.
things that I was working on. So in that process, I end up making the story go faster. That mentor in neuroscience, she was also a business mentor, and she's like, hey, why don't you start finding more sustainable ways of doing business? Like, why don't you go find referral partners? And I'm like, the hell is that? Right? Because I was used to just grinding, like cold calling, cold email, DMing, like as many interviews like this as I could. I was a grinder. And she's like, no, it's when you team up with people, then they send business over your way. So I end up using the last of what's on my credit card to join a business networking program that I found out about because of a friend of mine who ran an 8-figure business and gifted me his program on how he found these groups and how he found his referral partners, not knowing that I was broke. He didn't know that. He just like gifted it to me. End up finding this networking group. There's about 100, 200 people in the networking group. I spend the first day in that group. I also had urgency because I was like, my credit card is maxed out. I better figure out how to do this. I booked like 50 calls in 2 days. And apparently no one had ever done that in the group before. So I got a little claim to fame there. Right? I'm like, what the hell do you join these groups for and like not do anything with them? But whatever. I booked like 50 calls in 2 days. Justin was one of those 50 calls.
Oh,
And that was in 2022.
love story. Then you keep the love of your life.
Yeah. So we were just friends, right? And I have this whole other thing on how I was meditating and I was getting these intuitive hits that were like, go really hard, do like 10 meetings a day because that's how you're going to meet your husband. Not kidding. Right? Like these intuitions that, because suddenly my intuition went from completely offline to finding out what was going on in my brain to fully online.
That's so interesting to me because both you and Justin, I mean, I don't know Justin as well as now I know you, but I just see this super businessy, well-spoken, plan-driven person, and yet you've got this beautiful yin-yang relationship with yourself of the holistic and helping people, without turning into their counselor or their therapist, helping people find what it is for them that's going to light them up. Because you're lit like a Christmas tree right now.
Yeah, I love talking about this, right? And we both take this stuff really seriously. Like we're both constantly working on our personal development. We're doing holistic healing trainings here in Mexico. All our friends here are moonlighting shamans, as I've said before. So we take that stuff really seriously, and now we're figuring out how to combine everything together. But anyway, I end up meeting Justin. We're friends for like 6 months, right? Then we start working on business projects together, and we end up helping each other. And the story goes, he noticed I was very obsessed with automations and systems. Not my area of expertise. I am the relationship person, the marketer person, the creative person, right? Systems, technology, I was really trying on my own for a long time by the time I met him. And he noticed and he's like, why are you so obsessed with systems? And I said, because I'm getting ready to get married and meet my husband, and I need time and space. That's what I said. And then he kind of gave me a look like challenge accepted.
Oh my gosh, that is fantastic.
That's what I said, right? And he was like,
Right,
challenge
you set
accepted.
the intention.
Huh?
Because you set the intention.
I set the intention, right? And then we would spend, we end up falling in love. He flies to Miami. It's a crazy story. I'll let him tell that story someday. He meets my whole family, my childhood friends, like everybody who matters in like a week. Poor guy, right? And then, right?
He handled it like a champ, I'm sure.
He handled it like a champ, right? And then I was in Mexico 10 days later, and the plan was I'm just going to be here 6 weeks. I don't know, right? Ended up staying in Mexico.
Oh, nice, nice.
Right? Ended up staying in Mexico. And we were traveling, and that first year was pretty chaotic, actually, because number one, it was kind of on a whim. It wasn't like, it's not like you where it's like thoroughly planned out. That's not what happened here.
Yeah.
We were just following our intuition the whole time. So it was a bit chaotic. Okay. That first year,
Yeah.
you're moving all your stuff, you're changing your life, you're in partnership now. And in the beginning, we didn't even know we were going to live. We were just doing the digital nomad thing for a while. So we really had to figure out, okay, well, how can we run a business? We had deaths in the family. I mean, it was a lot going on all at the same time, to the point where I chatted with my therapist and she's like, I haven't seen you in a couple months. And I was like, well, we got sick. We had a death in the family. We had to rewire a house. Like, it went a 2-month period, and my therapist looks at me and she goes, how are you and Justin? I'm like, oh, we're fine. We're cool. We're better than ever. And she goes, okay, good. That's a good sign.
No,
that's a very good sign.
Is you just said like we had a lot going on, or a lot going on. That's wherever you live, right?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, it would be nicer to be closer to your loved ones if there's a health issue. But other than that, all of that other stuff is no matter where you live. There's always a lot going on. So live where you want to live and do some digital nomad. And lastly, I want to ask you to just address. So the folks that hang out with me at Destination Retirement, and thank you, I appreciate you all. They are, for the most part, 50 and over and looking to move to Mexico. But for a lot of us, there's a little gap in between actually arriving and when for me, when I can start drawing down from my SEP IRA and when I can hit my Social Security. I'm going to move anyway. So I've got this gap that I'm not still 100% certain how it's going to get filled. So speak to kind of like the over 50 crowd and bridging the gap monetarily.
Yeah. So it's funny because we do actually have a lot of clients now who are over 50. We have some clients in their 70s and they've already moved overseas, and they've got retirement money, they've got their Social Security, their IRAs, stuff like that. But like, they're like, what am I going to do? Like, just sit around and do nothing? Like, I can't do that.
Either.
What am I going to do? Go play golf all the time or go hang out in Chapala? Like or go to the beach? Like, eventually it gets boring.
Yes.
Right. And we've made a joke that we're semi-retired and we think like semi-retired people, it gets boring. So a lot of times what happens with them is they end up creating what I call second acts. Right. They've already had a career, but now it's more about, it's two things, right? It's how do I supplement my income so I'm not stressed because the world is crazy and I just always want to make sure I've got stuff coming in.
Right.
But the second thing is also, how do I make sure that I'm now leaving something before I go?
Yes.
And and how do I, it should sustain me and it should make me money and all that kind of stuff, but there's almost like a bigger purpose behind it sometimes. Like, and some people it's more out of necessity, like you, where it's like, hey, I have this gap, right? Like, I'm ready to go, but this isn't going to kick in for 5 years. How do I make money in the meantime? So we kind of have a combination of all three of them, and it's the exact same process whether you're a 25-year-old kid figuring this out for the first time or you're a 55-year-old. The process is the same.
I love that your process isn't just process, that it's passion, getting to know the person, what's going to be sustainable and work for them. And it's not just process, yet it comes with the amazing brilliance of your combined knowledge, you and Justin together. It's like, I think Entrepeneur Expat is amazing. I'm so grateful for you. Is there any last little thing you want to say before I wrap up and give my little sign off?
Yeah, one of the biggest questions we get asked is, well, how do we start making money online? So what we did is we put a guide together. It's free, based on our collective 30 plus years of experience. It's called our Make Money from Anywhere guide. We'll make sure to get you a link that's just specifically for you, and you can download it below. And what that will do is it will teach you about the 5 skills that you need that will make you money from anywhere in the world. Doesn't matter what country. You have these 5 skills and you will make money from anywhere in the world, and also probably for the rest of your life if you master these skills. So that's completely for free. It's like an 18-page guide, and it walks you through what the skills are, what it looks like, and how to get started in learning each of those skills. So that's completely free, and they can download it below.
Thank you so much. That's substantive. 18-page guide. It's not just a little pretty 2-page handout you made on Canva.
No, we go deep. You can ask our clients. We're teaching a YouTube workshop on Thursday because it's been highly requested from our business consulting clients. And I was
Yep.
just looking at the SOP. It's like 40 pages because we go through
Nice,
every little
nice.
detail.
Okay, well, with that, my friends, I do appreciate you watching. Subscribe, comment, like, let's interact. And here we go. My favorite part of the videos always is un abrazo fuerte, besitos y cuídate mucho. Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you.